Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We're on the way to 10,600 subscribers. And if you could like the video, that would be great as well. I hope you're all doing well. It's a Sunday evening. If you're in the UK, it's a bank holiday Monday tomorrow, which is fantastic. Lots to talk about. We're going to talk about Marcus Rashford. Some interesting stuff coming out about Marcus Rashford. And I think it's worth having the conversation because I think it splits opinion. I think it splits opinion big time. There's an update on Emil Smith-Rowe as well, Kieran Tierney. So plenty to talk about. Currently, obviously, if you're frequent on the channel, you will know how I feel about Victor Gyökeres. Sporting Lisbon currently playing. Unfortunately, Sporting did go down to 10 men very early on. This is the cup final against Porto. So, yeah, it's 1-1 at half-time in that game. 1-1 at half-time. But Victor Gyökeres didn't score. St. Just scored, and then he got sent off. So we'll keep an eye on it. But to be honest, he's still playing well. He's actually had a good game, despite the fact that they're down to 10 men. So I will be keeping an eye on that one. But look, there's loads of you here, as always. And it's good to see you all. Jakob Junior Films, Ethan Udall, Abu, Eric, Emil, Spicy Ramen, Pelzer, Kaisernax, Leo, Pekka, Hannah, Umer, Francisco Oliveira, Saliba, Ross Lorman, Reese, and many, many more of you. So I appreciate you all. But look, we'll kick it right off. By the way, there's a poll in the YouTube chat for you to answer whether or not you would take Marcus Rashford. Whether or not you would take Marcus Rashford. Currently, it's sat at 55% yes and 45% no. We'll see how that pans out over the rest of the show. But look, this is the news. Now, it's coming from AFC Camden or it's AFC Camden, he's on Twitter. He's not a journalist. He's a fan that he knows people at the club. He has said things previously where it's clear that he knows people at the club. He's not Team News and Ticks level in terms of trust, and he has got things wrong in the past. But it would be a weird thing for him to completely make up out of nowhere. But basically, he tweeted today, understand Arteta and Rashford have spoken in recent weeks. Interest on both sides, but it remains to be seen how willing, if at all, United would be to sell to us. And I think that would be the big stumbling block, regardless of whether or not Arsenal wanted Rashford, regardless of whether or not Rashford wanted Arsenal. The fundamental issue is it would be like us selling Bukayo Saka to another Premier League team. You know, he is their star boy. He's not a boy anymore by any stretch. He's 26 years old, but he's their academy product. He is, he's worth so much more to them than his market value would be. I think that's the fundamental issue, is because of the PR and the brand that is Marcus Rashford, the fact that he's, Manchester born and bred and has been all the way through the academy, he's probably worth double to Manchester United what he would be to Arsenal. And that's where it becomes, that's where I just think the stumbling block would be. And then that's on top. They wanted over 100 million for Rashford from PSG, and they've got no ties to PSG. Really, if you were to talk about anywhere where Marcus Rashford could go, and it wouldn't be, too bad for Man United, PSG would be perfect for them. There's no historical rivalry, there's nothing, and they still wanted over 100 million. So I think it's a non-starter. I think it's a complete non-starter, if you ask me. I think the price would be astronomical compared to what else you could get on the market for a player that's had the season Marcus Rashford's had, and for a player that has consistently failed to deliver in the way that Marcus Rashford has. How has he ever put more than one season together? Has he ever put back-to-back high-level seasons together? Not really. And you'd be looking at crazy money, and then you'd be looking at bringing him in. Well, he's on what, 350 grand a week, 400 grand a week? He'd have to take a phenomenal pay cut unless he was going to become our most expensive player and our highest wage player. So for me, I don't see it happening at all. But I've seen a an almost bizarre amount of people on Twitter today. And, people that I absolutely respect, people whose opinions I absolutely respect, being really eager to sign Marcus Rashford, thinking that, talking about him being the guy for Arsenal. And don't get me wrong, I think he'd be better at Arsenal than he is at United. I think Mikel Arteta would get more out of him than they're able to get out of him at Manchester United. But, I just don't think it's the best option. I don't think it's a sensible option. And I don't think you always have to save someone. Fine. We saved Kai Havertz. Arteta saved Kai Havertz. It's not going to work every time. It's not going to work every time. Ross said, I'm honestly starting to not buy into any of these links, in or out, whether it's by in the nose or not, as nobody can really expect what we do, especially after our last 3 summer windows. Look, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with you in that sense that, like I said yesterday, this time last year, we hadn't been linked to Timber. We'd not been linked to Havertz. We'd not been linked to a goalkeeper. So, it's a lot of paper talk. I'm almost more interested when these things come out from these Twitter accounts that do genuinely have people at the club that they speak to, and have no real kind of, it's not like traditional journalists where every day they need to get clicks, and so every day they need to come up with stories. So I do find it slightly more interesting when it comes out in this way. But ultimately, I'm not convinced Rashford would be any better for us than Martinelli or Trossard. Even if he was, I'm not convinced he'd be able to do it for more than a season back to back, which we need someone that's going to do it consistently. And I just think the wages and the transfer fee would be astronomical. I think we'd be breaking our wage structure and breaking our transfer structure. If you talk about where and how you want to spend your money, I think you'd be breaking both of it to bring in a player that's a massive gamble. Who's the source? AFC Camden on Twitter, who, ultimately is just a Twitter account, but he has demonstrated in the past that he knows people, and he gets news out of the club. But we said that about Mbappe, though. Rashford's wages will be fine. Mbappe, I mean, when did we say that about Mbappe? Because if you're talking about before Mbappe moved to PSG, you're talking about a completely different situation. If you're talking about before Mbappe moved to PSG, when we were linked to him then, that is a completely different situation. Because Mbappe was a teenage prospect, not a 26-year-old that has had, 6 years in the Premier League. 8 years in the Premier League at this point. What's the max you would pay for Rashford? 50 mil? I wouldn't pay more than 50 million for Rashford. And there is no way on God's earth that Manchester United let him go for 50 million quid. No chance. So that's where I just think it will never happen. It will never come to fruition. But it is interesting. It is interesting that on the poll, I mean, just how many of you would take him? It's 51% yes on Rashford to Arsenal, which is it's interesting. Icarus, good to see you. Would rather Kvara over Rashi. How old's Rashford? I'm pretty sure he's 20. I'm pretty sure he's 26. He is 26. 27 in October. 27 in October. I hope this is just Arsenal trolling United and have zero intentions of buying him. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Arsenal have genuine intentions of buying him. That would not surprise me. That would not surprise me. I mean, it's worth having the conversation, right? If Arteta likes him and Arteta thinks he can do something, it's worth having the conversation. But I don't see a world in which Man United sell him to Arsenal unless it's for an insane amount of money. The PR backlash, the backlash they'd get from their fan base if they sold Rashford to Arsenal would be astronomical unless they got 100 million plus for him, which I just don't think you can justify. Isak is the only attacker I want. Yeah, look, I don't think we're getting Isak either, to be honest. I don't think we're getting Isak either. I think that's another one that will be very, very difficult to get out of Newcastle. I don't want another project player that we had to try and save. It's got to go wrong at some point. I back whatever decision Mikel Arteta makes. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. How many times can you save someone? How many times can you take a broken player and save them? Is the Gyökeres train cancelled now? 199 super chat from Reese. Thank you very, very much, Reese, for the 199 super chat. Is the Gyökeres train cancelled now? I think so. Absolutely not. I am full steam ahead. Look. It might be looking unlikely that we're going to get Gyökeres, but I am still full steam ahead until it's over. Until the dream's over, I am still. Sorry, I am still 100% captain of the Gyökeres steam train. They are 10 minutes into the second half now, and it is still 1-1. Could go for Somerville. Due a big move and will be cheaper. Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at Leeds United, obviously they've not been promoted today. That means Leeds United need to sell £100 million worth of player. They need to raise £100 million in player sales to avoid FFP sanctions. Do you know how difficult that's going to be? Somerville, Nonto, Archie Gray, even those three, unless they sell well, I don't think they'll make 100 million between those three. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, look, I didn't think Somerville played very well at all today, to be quite honest, nor did Nonto. But lots of teams are going to be in for them as well. You've got to bear in mind, lots of teams will be looking at them. Luca, I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. But how much do you think we will have to spend? About 250 million, I reckon. I think we've got about 150 million to spend before player sales. I think we sell 100 to 150 million pounds worth. So yeah, I think about 250. 250. The main thing I would say is look at the player power and leaks happening at United. Rashford, 100% one of the players that has influence with the leaks, etc. Why invite that into our changing room? I do also agree with that. I do think there's an issue. Look, I'm sure it's not just Marcus Rashford. I'm sure there are other players in that dressing room. But it does worry me how many times Marcus Rashford has down tools on a manager. That's, how many managers has he gone through at United now? 5, 6? And at some point in time, he's down tools on all of them. That worries me. What game is currently 1-1? Porto versus Sporting Lisbon, the Portuguese Cup final. Obviously, Gyökeres watch continues. But Sporting are down to 10 men, which is not ideal. Thoughts on Arsenal getting a striker? I do think we will get a striker. Who it will be, time will tell. I'm beginning to feel like it's going to be a Sesko summer. I am beginning to feel like if I had to put money on one striker, this isn't the one that I want the most, but the one I think is most likely at the moment, I think it's Sesko. Would you be happy if Rashford is our new striker? He has an Alba attitude. No, I don't want Rashford as a striker. No. If Rashford came in, he'd be the left forward. He'd be the goal scoring left forward, right? 100%. That's his best position. That's where he'd play. What do you think of Xerxes? I like Xerxes. I find it interesting that Xerxes been left out of the Holland squad, to be quite honest. But again, I'm not sure he's quite at the level. We got a $5 Australian super chat from Red Dragon. Red Dragon, thank you very much. Shout out to Red Dragon, was one of the people on the TIFO live stream watch along earlier as well. So a legend. And he says, hello, Rory. Hope you are enjoying your day. Always good times when I'm watching your vids and streams. Keep up the great work. Thoughts on spaghetti bolognese? Well, first of all, thank you very much. And as always, we've got a question about food. A good spaghetti bolognese, fantastic. If you can get a good spaghetti bolognese, that goes a long, long way. Big fan. Do you think we have a single... And thank you again for the $5. Do you think we have a single player who realistically, knowing how we are selling players, we get more than £20 million for? 20 million. I mean, Ramsdale has to go for more than 20. Ramsdale has to go for more than 20 million. If we were to sell Smith Rowe, he's got to go for more than 20. Partey will be around about 20, I reckon, if we're sensible. Eddie, you'd be looking at minimum 20, really. Tierney, you'd be looking at, around the 20 mark. I think they're the ones. I think there are a few players that at least one of them should go for more than 20. Zinchenko. If you could smash the like button, you lot have been absolutely smashing it with hitting like recently, and it does genuinely make a big difference to the channel. Some of the streams recently have been the most watched streams that we've done. So if you could take a minute, it's not even a minute, 20 seconds to click like, that would be greatly appreciated. Who's buying, though? Well, this is the issue. Is who's buying them, right? Most of the money's in the Premier League. Look, I think you sell Nketiah to a Premier League club. I think you sell Reece Nelson to a Premier League club. I think you sell Smith Rowe to a Premier League club. I think you probably sell Ramsdale to a Premier League club. You'd hope that at least one of them can stump up more than 20 million for one of those. But I do think we have a lot to prove when it comes to selling players. I think that's something that we've continually struggled on for a long, long time. And it's the one area that I don't think we've shown that we fixed yet. I think when it comes to buying players, I think we've demonstrated that we fixed that. We pull out, when it gets too expensive. We have backup options for every sort of target that we have. So I think we've proved that we can buy well. I still don't think we've proven that we can sell well. Sell them all to Ipswich. I mean, look, if Ipswich could come in and do that 60 million deal for Eddie and who was it? Eddie and Reece, or Eddie and Smith Rowe? Eddie and Smith Rowe. I'd take 60 million for those two, to be honest. 40 million for Look, Rambo should be 40 million, but I'm not convinced that's what we're going to get for him. Speaking of Emil Smith Rowe, obviously yesterday we said, was it Gunnar? Who said it yesterday about Smith Rowe? Charles Watts yesterday said talks have been scheduled between Arsenal and Emil Smith Rowe to decide on his future. They'll take place imminently. So that was Charles Watts yesterday. Fabrizio Romano today, however, said, I'm aware of talk of a meeting being scheduled between Smith Rowe and Arsenal. My understanding is that nothing has been decided on this yet. I think it's an open situation based on proposals, but at the moment, I'm hearing it's a quiet situation. Let's see in the next weeks if clubs join the race. So Fabrizio Romano pretty much directly arguing with Charles Watts there. Charles Watts says that talks are going to happen imminently. Fabrizio Romano says it's quite quiet around Smith Rowe. So that's interesting. Time will tell. Like I said, I think we lose one of them out of him and Fabio. But Lucas says, I just subscribed to the channel. I was wondering if you would do a collaboration, if you would like, if we do, you have an Insta. Very possibly. Thank you very much for subscribing. Yeah, very possibly. But thank you for subscribing. Weirdly, I think ESR might fetch the biggest fee for us this summer. He probably should do. He probably should fetch the biggest fee. Maybe. Yeah, he probably should, honestly. I think he's the highest level player. Outside of like a Partey or a Zinchenko, but their age makes a big difference. Did you read the recent rumors that Arteta doesn't like Vieira in training and might get sold? Yeah, I did see that. I think Vieira could go. I think Vieira's the most expensive signing we've had that hasn't so far worked out. And we're 2 years in now. If you give it a third year and it still doesn't work, his transfer value tanks. One thing that Man City are good at, regardless of whether you agree with it, when a transfer doesn't work for Man City, they get rid of them before they lose a big amount of money on it, generally speaking. They're looking at flogging Mateus Nunes this summer after 1 year because they've decided it's not going to work. That's something we need to improve on. Because if we keep Fabio Vieira for another season, unless he suddenly massively ups his game, it never improves beyond that point. So we'll see. Did you say we need 2 midfielders this summer? I did. I think we do. If we sell Thomas Partey, I think we do. If we sell Thomas Partey, we're selling Sambi Lokonga, according to Sambi Lokonga. Patino isn't coming through with the squad. He's going to get sold. El Neni's gone. I think that leaves us with 2 positions that we need to buy. I think that leaves us with, if you're talking about the 6 and the 8 on the left-hand side and the potential double pivot that we've played in big games, that leaves you with Rice and Jorginho. I think you then need 2 more to come in. I think you need 4 players for that spot. I think one of them has to be ready to come in straight away, and one of them can be younger and more developmental and take a season to learn off Jorginho and learn off Declan Rice. But especially if we're then losing Jorginho next summer. Because then, like, either way, within the next 2 summers, we need to buy at least 2 players to fit that position. I'd rather do that now. I'd rather do it now and give that second midfielder a year to learn and adapt and grow. Do you think it's too early to promote some of the youngsters and use them like Klopp did and City do at times? Klopp did it. City don't really do it. If you actually look at those youngsters when they eventually come through at City, like Cole Palmer's already 21. Oscar Bob is already, I want to say 20 or 21. He's already an established international for Norway. Or is it Denmark? No, Norway. So I do feel like City don't really do it. Rico Lewis was a bit of an exception. But that's when you're talking about, Rico Lewis, Phil Foden. You're talking about effectively generational. You're talking about players 3, 4, 5 years apart. Well, that's your Saka, right? So unless it's the next Saka, then no, I don't think they do come through. Look, Nwaneri is probably going to. But the others, I just think the reality is what we have to do is just handle them better. What we've got to do is handle them better, sell them for a profit or loan them out and increase their value. But I want to see more of Miles Lewis-Skelly next season. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. We might see a little bit more of Miles Lewis-Skelly next season. To be honest, I think that depends on who we buy. I do think that depends on who we buy. It also depends on injuries. Look, would Liverpool have introduced that many youngsters this season if it wasn't for injuries? No. That's the reality. Like, this season, we didn't have a significant injury crisis at any point. So we didn't need to bring them in. Even when City do it, City actually have a very small... Yeah, Oscar Bob's 21 next month, and he's played, 3 games? We're talking about Nwaneri's, he's not 21 for 5 years. And yeah, even City have a small squad. The strength of the depth that they have is incredible, but they actually have quite a small squad. They've only really got 19 senior players. So it doesn't take that many injuries before they've got youngsters on the bench as well. Freaking Rashford, and you're going to accept this nonsense? No, I've said no to Rashford. Although 55% of you, we've got nearly 200 votes, and 55% of you are saying yes to Rashford. So interesting. What position is Nwaneri actually? Well, look, when youngsters are as good as him, they don't really have a fixed position at that point in their career, because if you're that good, you usually start up front, right? The best players at a young age always just get put up front because they score the goals. And then eventually you move back, or you might move out to a wing and you find your best position. Based on what Arsenal have been doing with Nwaneri and what he's been doing more recently with England, I think he's effectively the Martin Ødegaard. I think he's going to be the Martin Ødegaard, backup. I think we're molding him. Apparently he's been shadowing Ødegaard. Ødegaard's really taking him under his wing, and that's kind of the role that he's been playing. So that's what I think he'll be, a kind of 8/10, playing predominantly off the right so he can move in. But we'll see. Time will tell. Same with Miles Lewis-Skelly. Miles Lewis-Skelly was kind of an attacking midfielder, then dropped back to almost a holding midfielder, and then apparently Arsenal and Arteta are considering using him as an inverted left-back, basically learning from Zinchenko. So again, as these youngsters develop, they get molded by their club, is the reality, into the sort of player that the club needs. Coquelin was a right winger at youth level at Arsenal. Exactly. So our loaning of youngsters has been terrible. Look at Patino and Charles. Look at Patino and Charles at Swansea. Hardly got games. Yeah. Look, I don't think we've done well in that sense either. I think that is a position that's an area that we need to improve in. Chelsea effectively are going to make 20 million quid raw profit off Hutchinson for doing the exact same thing that we could have done. Like, our plan, Hutchinson would probably have come closer to getting into the Arsenal squad than he ever has done at Chelsea. But our plan would have been to loan him out, which is exactly what Chelsea did. And then they're going to flip him, and they'll make 20 million of raw profit off it. That should be our profit, but we got it wrong. because Chelsea would have come in and they'll have lied to him, right? They'll have barefaced lied to him and they'll have told him, yeah, we're going to give you loads of opportunities in the first 11. And if you're good enough, you'll make it. That's what we're going to do. And then they didn't. And then they loaned him out to Ipswich. And now they'll flip him. They'll make 20 million profit and they'll move on. They won't care. They don't care what it's done to his career, if it's hampered his career, which he could have done at Arsenal. The whole reason he wanted to leave Arsenal was because he didn't want to go out on loan, which is exactly what ended up happening. So we've made this mistake too many times. Cozy Dubry might be the next one. Cozy Dubry probably will be the next one, to be honest. Yeah. That's the thing. But I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. I don't know what the answer. I could not explain to you why youngsters keep going to Chelsea. You look at this Brazilian Esteval that's just gone to Chelsea. I couldn't explain it to you. I couldn't explain his logic when they've got Cole Palmer, Madueke, Kendry Paez, Amari Hutchinson. It's baffling. But young players keep wanting to go there. I think they're offered money. I think they're offered a decent amount of money for it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for me. I'm still pissed we only got 30 million for a 23-year-old Cesc Fabregas with 5 years left on his contract. Biggest crime of the 21st century after Man City 115, of course. Yeah, I mean, what would 30 million have been worth then? I don't even know. The real issue I had was that when we were getting money like that, A, we should have got more money for Fabregas, and B, we would just never, the money never got reinvested into the squad, which was the real problem. Look at what they're offering parents. You joke about it, but genuinely, yeah, it's a big thing. At some point, new academy players will realize it's not a good idea to go there. Well, yeah, but we've been saying that for years. For years and years and years, we've been saying that about Chelsea. Look at the previous cohort of Chelsea academy players. Players, not even players that they brought in, players they brought all the way through the academy. And look at how they get treated. Look at Loftus-Cheek. Look at Callum Hudson-Odoi. Look at Solanke was at Chelsea. So many of them never get given the chances. Saw something about Osimhen wanting us over Chelsea now. Great alternative to Isak. Osimhen's not had a good season, Like Napoli have had a really bad season, and Osimhen hasn't been great. Unless you can get him for cheap, maybe you can get him for cheap because Napoli have finished outside of Europe altogether, so they're not going to be in Europe next season, and they need money. And the only players they can really sell are him and Kvaratskhelia. But I don't know. I'm not really keen on Osimhen, to be quite honest. Who would you sell to get some money in? For me, it has to be Nketiah, Nelson, Ramsdale, Partey, Tierney, Vieira. Yeah, all of those. Plus Sambi Lokonga. Plus, I think we sell Zinchenko. That's pretty much it, right? Unless I'm forgetting someone. But yeah, there's plenty of players we can sell. Get Coop Miners and João Neves in. Do you know what, right? If we bought 2 midfielders this summer and it was Coop Miners and João Neves, I would not complain. I wouldn't complain. Is Chelsea selling Hutchinson? Yeah, apparently. Apparently, they've got no plans to bring him into the first team. Because how can they? They've got Cole Palmer, they've got Madueke, they've got Esteval, who they're bringing in for 50, 60 million, whatever they're paying, who's 17. So Hutchinson's not even like a young prospect at the club anymore. Would you take Hjulmand and Rice being the 8? Yes. I really like Hjulmand. The thing is, I just don't know if... Tell you what, Sporting are holding on. It's still 1-1 in that game. I don't know if Sporting will... I don't know if Sporting will let him go. If they end up selling Gyökeres, I think they might keep Hjulmand. I don't know. Didn't Ake come through Chelsea as well? Yeah, Ake did. You look at what they're doing now. They're selling... One of the main reasons Pochettino left is because they're insisting that they sell Chalobah so that they can keep Disasi. They're going to sell Conor Gallagher. They sold Mason Mount. They don't care. They don't care. His high pressing is very good. Yeah, which is what we need a lot of the time. Would you take back Alexis Sanchez in the summer for 15 million? No. Have you seen him? Have you seen Alexis Sanchez play in the last few years? My unbiased opinion is that Chelsea are looking like a scary project, and I'm worried about they will become in years to come. Hope I'm wrong, though. I'm not that worried yet. Do you know what I'd say with Chelsea's project? they've taken so many gambles, and all of those gambles have to come off. If all of the gambles come off, yeah, we're in trouble. They'll be scary. If most of the gambles don't come off, they're in absolute hell. So it's one of those. It's a ticking time bomb, and we've got to wait and see, basically. Most of the people we want to sell aren't going to Copa America or the Euros, so we will do a lot of selling before we buy anyone. That's true, actually. That is true. If you look at where was that list of people I just said that I'd sell? Where's it gone? Can't remember now. Yeah, this. Nketiah, not going anywhere in the summer, not playing in the summer. Nelson not playing in the summer. Ramsdale will be at the Euros. Partey won't be anywhere. Tierney will be at the Euros. Vieira's not going anywhere. Zinchenko will be at the Euros. Kivior will be at the Euros. Yeah, we can get rid of a few of them, that's for sure. First time chatter, long time watcher on TikTok. I appreciate that. Can we talk about Leeds staying in the Championship again? Yeah, look, it's a nightmare for Leeds. It's an absolute nightmare for Leeds. They took a gamble as well. They took a gamble that they would come back up this season, and they haven't. And now they have to sell 100. They have to raise 100 million quid this summer, which A, it's going to be difficult, and B, even if they do it, look at the position it puts them in for next season. Absolute nightmare. Not afraid of Chelsea because of a new coach coming with his project too. It's complicated. Yeah, I agree. I think they're gonna struggle whoever they get. I think that managerial change is gonna set them back another season, basically. Hit the like button, please. Almost on 100. Yeah, please. Come on, get us to 100. Come on. Get us to 100 likes. Should we go for Leao? Not for me. Not for me. Rafa Leao is fun to watch, but I don't think he's an effective player massively. I don't think he's a massively effective player. Will Chelsea get charged for selling their assets to their parent company, similar to City, in my opinion? It's being investigated. It's being investigated. By the way, we're over 300 viewers. That is one of the only times I think we've ever sat on over 300 viewers. So, honestly, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I can see Somerville at Spurs, unfortunately. Think he would be great for them. Yeah, but I've had that worry before. I had that worry when they signed Jed Spence. When they signed Jed Spence, I was like, God, we should have gone for Jed Spence. I couldn't even tell you what's happened to his career at this point. Don't even know where he is. So, yeah, it's. I didn't think Somerville looked great today. I know he's had a brilliant season and he is talented, but have you heard about Saliba to Real Madrid? Saliba's not going to Real Madrid. That's one of those ones. That's a paper talk. That is a paper talk thing. Because basically, if you wanted to rumour that Saliba was going anywhere, Real Madrid's pretty much the only club that would even make any sort of feasible sense. And they don't have the money for it if they're bringing in Mbappe. So I'm not worried about it. Over 100 now. Great work, chat. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mainly just Rashford and a bit on Emil Smith-Rowe. But anyway, it is time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you 5 clues about an ex or current Arsenal player, and you have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. So get your fingers on your keyboards because we're starting now. By the way, someone said big fan, love from Sierra Leone. Unbelievable. Absolute global. 115 likes now. It was meant to be. Anyway, clue number 1, this player is 30 years old. Clue number 1, this player is 30 years old. Clue number 2, they scored 5 goals in 118 games for Arsenal. They scored 5 goals in 118 games for Arsenal. Clue number 3, they moved from Arsenal to Marseille in 2022. They moved from Arsenal to Marseille in 2022. Clue number 4, they've won the Europa League and the FA Cup. Clue number 4, they've won the Europa League and the FA Cup. And clue number 5, they once fought off knife-wielding thugs to protect Mesut Ozil. They once fought off knife-wielding thugs and mugs to protect Mesut Ozil. So there you go. That should be the big giveaway. The big giveaway. Right. I'm going to make sure I don't get VAR checked here. Lots of you were saying Xhaka. Yeah. Here he is, sports fans. Here he is, sports fans. VV Vlad has got it first. The GOAT of Gastelum, and he's done it again. He's done it again. It is indeed Sead Kolasinac. Won the Europa League the other night. What a boy. What a boy. Ethan Udall was second. Pekka was third. Amar was fourth. And Jamie was fifth. So there you go. I don't think I'm getting VAR checked. I think it was a comfortable win for VV Vlad. And there you go. There you go. The Bosnian beast, pure lockdown Arsenal player. Yeah, he was. He was. Congratulations, Vlad. Congratulations. Who? Sead Kolasinac. How do you not know him? How do you not know him? Who do you think's been the best singer in the Arsenal squad? Who do you think is the best singer in the Arsenal squad? I don't know. Can any of them sing? I don't know if any of them can sing. You're good on. There we go. Wilsey has confirmed it. Goal given. VV Vlad. Ten Hag clear of Arteta. You know, it's interesting, right? We'll humor it. We'll humor it. Eric Shelby, welcome to the chat. Lovely profile picture there of Eric Ten Hag. We'll humor it though. I saw a stat, interesting stat. Of the 96 teams across the top 5 divisions of European football, 96 teams, Manchester United ranked 95th for conceding shots. Manchester United ranked 95th out of 96 teams for conceding shots. The only team that conceded more shots than them in the entirety of the big 5 leagues of Europe was Sheffield United. That's your guy. That is your guy. Red Dragon with another $5 super chat. Red Dragon, thank you very, very much. If you had to sell Saka, Ødegaard, Saliba, and White tomorrow, where do you think they'd end up? What a horrible thing to think about that is. Saliba probably does end up at Real Madrid. No, Saliba ends up at PSG. Saka ends up at Real Madrid. Ødegaard. Ødegaard also at Real Madrid. Who was the other one? Ben White. I think Ben White would rather retire. Maybe Ben White at like Bayern Munich or something. I don't know. I can't see. Do you know what? I just can't see any of them going to another Premier League team. I can't see any of them going to another Premier League team. Conceded more shots. Yeah, they conceded more shots than Luton. Conceded more shots than Burnley. Conceded more shots than the worst team you can think of in any of the other top 5 leagues. Remarkable. Ben would go City? Nah. Ben wouldn't go City. Ødegaard wouldn't go City. They wouldn't go City. No. They've got morals. They've got morals. They wouldn't go to that cheating club. They've got morals. If we were to move Ødegaard to left centre mid, who would you sign for right centre mid? That's a good question. I think a lot of the midfielders we're already looking at could probably do it, to be fair. I mean, you might put Nwaneri there. That's what you might do. That could happen. That's feasible in the future, that we end up with a midfield of Rice, Nwaneri, and Ødegaard. But I think it's far too soon at the moment. They wouldn't want to play in the National League North? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. White to Liverpool, Saka to Barca. Yeah, but how are Barca going to come? How would Barca have the pull for Saka? That's the issue, right? I was thinking about Barca, but they don't have the pull. They don't have the money, and they don't have the pull. In my opinion. Francisco Conceição from Porto would be a very good right wing option and not that expensive. He's like Doku, but more objective. We need that objective winger going to the Euros as well. Yeah, but isn't he? He's the son of the manager, right? Is he not the son of the manager, who's an absolute knob? I remember watching him against Arsenal. He's very nippy. He is very nippy. He's very explosive. Would you take Lautaro Martinez for 95 minutes? I'd take Lautaro Martinez for 40 million. I've seen enough of Lautaro Martinez in my life to know that he's just not that guy when he needs to be. He's a passion merchant as well. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the son of that manager is going to be like in the dressing room. I do think some of those Porto players would have impressed Arteta. Wouldn't be surprised if someone like Varela or Wendell gets linked. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Lautaro couldn't hit a barn door. Yeah, exactly. When push comes to shove, I mean, obviously, I'm friends with Mo. I speak to Mo a lot. He's not a fan of Martinez. He's an Inter fan, and he doesn't like Martinez. So, Gibbs White as right centre mid? Maybe. I feel like Gibbs White's better further forwards, but yeah. Desiree Doué? Well, we have finally had very tenuous links to Desiree Doué, to be fair. We have finally had some very tenuous links to him. Hi, Rory. How are you today? Was watching Leeds Southampton today. Hope they get battered by us next season for payback. Yeah, look, Southampton are one of our bogey teams, so I wanted Leeds to come up. Anyway, it's time for Guess the Non-Gooner. I'm going to give you the entire career path of a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal. You have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community, but not as much respect as VV Vlad currently has. This player started their career at CSKA Sofia. They started their career at CSKA Sofia. They went to Bayer Leverkusen. They went to Tottenham Hotspur. They went to Manchester United. They went to Fulham. They went to Monaco. They went to PAOK Salonika. And they went to Kerala Blasters. CSKA Sofia, Bayer Leverkusen, Tottenham United, Fulham, Monaco, PAOK Salonika, and Kerala Blasters. Halfway through that, I've got a feeling that's one that we did like months and months ago, but I feel like I've already done it before. So if you were watching back then, lucky you. But I do feel like it's one I've done before. Anyway, the winner is Francisco Oliveira. There you go. Francisco Oliveira has won it. It's Dimitar Berbatov. Mr. Adam was second. Jamie was third. Kaysenex was fourth. And Brent Burns was fifth. There you go. Congratulations. Congratulations. Saw VV Vlad say someone, then instantly everyone repeated it. Smart plays. Yeah, that does happen. That does happen. People just copy Vlad. When's the Twitch stream? Unfortunately, there's not a Twitch stream tonight. There is not a Twitch stream tonight. But I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be back as normal. But there's no Twitch stream tonight. So I apologize for that. But yeah, there won't be one. I'm so late. I got here like 3 minutes ago. Jake. That is unlucky. That is unlucky. You can always watch it back. You can always watch it back. Would you rather play difficult away games at the start of the season or towards the end? At the start. Get them out of the way at the start of the season, I think. When you're fresh, you're fit. Hopefully, as long as we start the season quickly. I do look back and I think I wish we'd gone to Newcastle away later in the season. I wish we'd gone to Villa away later in the season. I know we lost to them at home, but yeah, there are some of those away games that I wish we'd done later in the season, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, look, that is going to be the end of the stream. I massively appreciate you all for joining. As always, we hit over 300 viewers on the live, which is crazy for a Sunday night. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the bank holiday if you're in the UK. I'll be back tomorrow, as always, 6:30 on here, followed by a Twitch stream as well. But until then, have a good evening and goodbye.